This video is going to show you a Solo Master Nightfall getting Platinum rank on the Lightblade, and I suppose showing you some inner workings of how this Nightfall works, etc. And it might help you in the Grandmaster. This isn't Grandmaster typically, as I just stated, it is only on Master. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you send the boss. So what I done there was I used 2 box breathing Tarantula shots. Because in this Nightfall it's arc burn, so you're going to see me destroy champions. You just saw I one cycle the champion with this because I've got box breathing on it. So make sure you spec it into the arc weapons, which I'll talk more about. But right now what I'm trying to do here is clear out 2 champions. There are only 2 champions here and the boss, so you need to send the boss, take the 2 champions, and then run through. This run's going to be more of an optimized run. I've actually tried to optimize it, get a good time, a goodish time on it, so that you're not here forever farming it, because obviously this isn't Grandmaster difficulty, so you shouldn't be. This is more of your, as I say, tips with this particular Nightfall itself. So I'm going to lead with a Suppressor Grenade there. Now you saw I'm using the Suppressor Grenade, which is a good grenade and a bad grenade at the same time. It has utility, but it doesn't have the damage, so it's a trade-off. Do you pick damage or do you pick the utility? In this particular Nightfall, you pick utility. What suppressor grenades can do are very impressive, which you're going to see as we go. Sometimes I won't get the 1 cycle on the champ, like so. If that doesn't happen, I might miss a crit. I might not have box breathing on or whatever it might be. Then I'll switch to my scout, which is Eternal Blazon. This scout rifle is also a god roll, so not only is the Tarantula very good at what he does, field prep, box breathing, but the scout rifle has rapid hit, disruption break on. I'm also using the exotic grey launcher Witherhoard. Witherhoard is classed as obviously a kinetic weapon, but disruption break buffs kinetic weapons damage by 50%. So when you break a shield with Eternal Blazon and you're using it on a champ like that, Witherhoard's just going to melt champs. Even on Grandmaster, it will also do that. Now, I got hit by a Suppressor Grenade there. I was very lucky I didn't die to that. So you have to be careful with the suppressors. I actually didn't believe to see... Right now, there's 1 Hive Guardian right up. I actually thought he was still over right side and the balcony. But when he goes to middle, he's deadly because he throws his grenades. I'll talk more in depth about these Hive Guardians, about their mechanics and what they do, because I've analysed them this week. This has been my week of actually learning Lightblade. I actually didn't really know much about the solo. I didn't know, you know, all the stuff, all the inner workings. As when it first came out, we were leveling. I don't know what week it was, can't remember, but I was leveling. I wasn't, you know, learning the solo on this. So, and then obviously it's been a GM, but I done it in a team, which I regret now, because now I haven't been able to learn Lightblade until this week. Not only that, there was controversy at the start of Reset. It was actually Glassware again, because they had changed it last week, because there's been some thing where Lightblade hasn't been proccing for the Conqueror, or for one of the Triumphs. It's called Total Conquest. Right, now it doesn't apply to us Conqueror players who already have it. It's to those that don't have it. So that's why they changed it last week to Glassware, and then it was Glassware again, but they fixed it an hour after. So it's been a pain, this whole Conqueror thing where you lose the GMs. Next season I won't be doing that. Next season, when the GMs come out, what I'll do to make it easier for people is that I'll just won't do any team runs, I suppose, and I'll just focus the solo. My goal this season was to just get the Conqueror gilded as soon as possible, because it was the first season to do that. But it's worked out disadvantage, because I can't do what I really want to do with these GMs, which is the solo and experiment. And I can't do that if I don't have the node. I can get a checkpoint off somebody, I understand that, people have offered me that, but it's not good enough for me. I want to have that node anytime I want to test weapons, whatever you know, whatever you might be thinking, weapon-wise. There's three Hive Guardians in total. Now the ads in this room, which I haven't mentioned too much about, is based on percentage. So it's acolytes. So when you'll come in here, you'll get the 2 barriers, and then you'll get 1 Lucent Hive Guardian. You can take out that. I recommend you take out the Hive Guardian, because if you don't and you take out the Acolytes, you're going to have 2 Lucent Hive Guardians at once. And they can one-shot you even on this difficulty. So it's based on the Acolytes. Take out the Acolytes, take out any barriers out as well before you take all the Acolytes. And manage the room that way. That way you're dealing with one Lucent Guardian at a time. Also, obviously I'm not on Nightstalker, so your tether is extremely useful. Moebius Quiver. Not the other tether, don't use that one, use Moebius Quiver, the damage dealing tether. There's 2 champions here to take. While I'm dealing with that, I'll explain briefly what my invisibility build is. It's Wormhusk Crown because the Nightfall modifier on is attrition, which means your health regen is impaired unless you get these wells of ads. Funnily enough, they look like actually our elemental wells that we have now. It's an old modifier. So it's kind of a pain in the ass for the health. So I went Wormhusk for that. As for the invisibility itself, we're using the Trapper's Ambush aspect with Vanishing Step. Fragments are Echo of Persistence, Echo of Obscurity, Echo of Undermining. The 2 I want to focus on though is Echo of Obscurity, which gives you invisibility on finisher kills, like so. That's so good, that for starters, because you're gonna need. Actually, it's pretty much required at times, because you need to finish the Lucent Guardians. That's their mechanic, of course. And then the Echo of Persistence just increases our invis. We really need that on, especially the fact that we're using a second-hand invis setup, because Wormhusk is good. I mean, it is actually good. It actually got a little bit of a buff with it, because when you get finisher kills, you get health regen. But it's very unique how it works, because if you get the finisher kill, when you do a dodge, you don't get the health regen off your dodge. So it has a unique interaction. So with the ship, as you saw, I emoted. Then when the timing came right, to then Witherhoard the Shrieker, Invis after that, and then we can go up the stairs and then deal with these Guardians. There's 1 each side. Now, I would recommend you save a grenade for the other. If you're going to use Suppressor Grenade like me, then I've tethered one side. Just be careful, because the actual Hive Guardian can pop his super and nearly kill you. He nearly actually killed me there. He can hit me from this side. They do have a range drop off the discs that he throws, but he can actually kill you from that side, so you've got to be careful of it. So we tethered on that side. We're going to use a grenade here, so I'm going to go invis first, then throw my grenade. He'll pop generally he pops the server, he's popped a wall, but you can see he's suppressed, and for a long time. So we can just lay into him. So you can see out the utility of suppressor grenades. So I would say that if you're on Hunter or any Void class, maybe I guess apart from Void Walker, because you really want the Vortex, but mainly run suppressor grenades. If you're on a Titan or a Hunter, run suppressor grenades, especially if it's on GM for your team, because it just comes in clutch. Because the Hive Guardian will. This is the same thing, by the way. We're going to emote. Make sure that you emote and then you don't move your character at all. This is how this works. Don't let the wizard see you. If a wizard does see you, you're going to have to do a plan B where you go invis, and then you can actually walk all the way around this area. This area is deceiving, because when I first did this, I was like, how the hell are you going to solo this? But it's actually designed that if you miss the ship, that's fine. You can jump off, and a portal is at the end, which that's something I only learned when I actually was doing the Grandmaster itself in a team. Didn't even know about that portal. Like I say, my knowledge was really lacking with Lightblade. I hadn't done much of it at all. My knowledge was there for Birthplace, and I am waiting on that GM coming out. But for Lightblade, as I said, it's only this week where I've actually come in and had a couple of attempts at the GM, which I've only had around about 2 hours practice on it, and it is kind of. It's a good GM, but it's a bad GM at the same time. A lot of things can one-shot you, which seems a little bit unfair at times, but it is the new Glassware. See, Glassware is not as difficult now, and now what was the hardest Glassware when it first launched, it isn't now. This is now the hardest GM. So it's just how it is. What I'm going to do is fight these Thrall from up here, because rather than stay on there, it's kind of dangerous, because a silly thing is that Witherhoard can bounce off the ship. if you don't connect to a thrall, the ball of the Witherhoard, whatever, it just jumps right off the ship. I don't know why it is. So this is just a safe place to take out all the thralls. There's a couple of waves, just keep going until all the waves are taken out. The ship won't go until you step on it, so there's no rush for that. And we're just going to scout them all down. When there's no more thrall coming out, that's when you know the last phase is done. So now we're on to the swamp section. So I'll try to explain this as best as possible. You really need to play ahead of the game. This is like Crota. So if you've played Destiny 1, if you can think like that, where you're ahead of Weight of Darkness, where you can start to sort of know the exact time and to leave a lantern to go to the next one. If you know them little tactics from day one, then you'll be fine with this. So I'm going to jump down. I'm going to do my Trapper's Ambush first. And I'm going to do a dodge. My Gamblers. So I get it back. That resets the timer to 9 seconds. Then I'll wait at this first lantern. You need to go through the gates to see where the next lantern is. So look, go through the gate. The lantern's to my right. I shot some of the fairies are going to be the biggest thing that can kill you. They can, 2 of them can one-shot you, 1 of them can get you weak on this difficulty, depending on your level. But if you maneuver around the swamp properly, you don't need to aggro them. Like, if you don't aggro them, there's nothing much you need to do. You can invis past them, and they won't sense you once you invis. So, but they sort of enrage, if you like. They'll make a certain audio cue to tell you that they're starting to fly towards you. It happens here, I think. I think it happens there, so I invis straight away. As soon as you hear that noise, you just want to invis as soon as possible. So we'll get to the last lantern here. And then just, as I say, go to the final. But when your Weight of Darkness is 0, you can actually double jump. If you're on a Titan, you can shoulder charge. So there's certain things that you can... You only get a second or 2 where there's no Weight of Darkness. But once that happens, you can use a bit of momentum to get ahead of the game. Because there's a bunch of scribs behind you that are always chasing you. And the slower you are, the more you get punished by the scribs. So it's only the fairies that you really need to manage, if you like. So this little section here, this is where you've got unstoppables. Now we don't have an unstoppable weapon on because we've opted to not go that route. We've opted to go just the scout, right? Because mainly, if there was unstoppables at the boss, now that's a different thing. There isn't. Thank God there isn't. So because there's only 3 unstoppables in the entire thing, the unstoppables not really needed, and you can melt these even without not stopping them. Watch this area because there's lots of fairies that you need to shoot. Make sure you shoot as many as you can because we're going to get a finisher kill on him. That's our way of justifying basically dealing with these unstoppables, because we are going to spend a bit of heavy on them, but we're going to get it back. And we're into a phase where we're going to be using a bit of heavy because there's a lot of high health targets coming up. So make sure you shoot all the fairies. Key thing. Any raiders that push, kill those. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to try and use a bit of Witherhoard on them. Because this bit's actually quite dangerous with the void nades. That the scorn that they throw. You can be melted by them. So I'm going to come up here with Witherhoard. I've pushed a little too much, but that's okay. If I get a good Witherhoard shot on though, most of them will be taken out. Any ads that are finishable, just start getting in the habit of doing that. Because we've got that build on, where we're always finishing ads, and you go in invis. It's going to help out with your invis build overall, so you may as well do it. We'll use our Tether here, hopefully it sticks. The Moebius Quiver Tether is good, but after a sort of amount of distance, the Tether is less likely to track. It's done a good job there, but sometimes it doesn't do as much of a good. Now this is the thing here, is you need to make sure that you tag both unstoppable champions. There's 1 Scorn, 1 Hive. Now I'm led to believe that there's 1 champion. You can choose which champion you want, but you can skip a champ in this. So say for example, you didn't kill the Scorn one or whatever, and you didn't tag him, I think you would still get platinum rank. However, say you kill these 2 and you skip a champ at earlier on, I think he would still also get platinum. I'm not 100% on that, but most GMs you can actually skip one champ minimum and you still get the platinum, providing everything else is taken out. The exception is Glassware, because Glassware is kind of crazy with champs. It doesn't seem to... It's something where it's a little different. Just take them all out if you want to get plat on that. So both Hive Ogres are taken out. That's the main thing. There's an Unstoppable Ogre left. We're going to get any heavy that we left from earlier. That was key because I knew I was going to spend a lot here. Now, I'm not too fussed about having max ammo. This is why Witherhoard's so good. The main thing is having plenty of Witherhoard and having 10-15 shots of transfer is more than enough. Because you're going to get... You've got Lucent Finisher on the mod where you finish Champions or Lucent Guardians, you get heavy. So you get plenty of ammo in this. And if you got double linear finder on, you're good. Now with this little section here, you don't need to take out the Shriekers. The Shriekers and these enemies at the top, just invis past them. They are a ammo waste and they're a time waste. So you don't really need to take out those. The only thing you need to take out is you need to send the boss Lightblade. You need to do a bit of damage to him. Alak-Hul, whatever his name is. Kill the champs, the Hive Ogres, and any Hive enemies, and then you're good. So this is with the boss. So we're going to start with trying to do some, at least a Witherhoard shot to the body. Then what I'm going to do is, there's different tactics you can use with this boss. Now, the tactics change on what difficulty you're doing it on. And some of the stuff I'm doing here, you can't get away with on GM. So just bear that in mind. This video isn't meant to be a GM guide, obviously. This is just meant to be more, as I say, of a video of Lightblade, the inner workings of it, you know. And you know, getting some Ascendant Shards while you're doing it. So, just to explain the ad phases, as soon as the boss fight starts up, you'll have Thrall and Cursed. Now the way I'm doing this is I'm not going to take any of the Cursed. I'm not going to really deal with the Cursed. I'm actually not going to fight from below at all, literally. What I've sort of worked out is you don't really need to. Everything can be done from up top. You need to do a bit of map rotation, and sometimes that might involve you going down below. But for the most part, the Cursed Thrall won't jump up here. Now, when a new phase starts, after a third of damage is taken, you get the Hive Guardian and 2 barriers. Now, I was trying to do some damage to him before he come up here. That didn't work out, so he ends up pushing. That's fine. Then you want to... I would invis. I didn't know Witherhoard then invis, but whatever seems to be the safest for you. Because he's popped his super, and as I said, he can one-shot you with his super, so... We've now got our super because there's an orb generation mechanic on this Nightfall, which is actually very good. I actually really enjoy it. So we use that to get our super back to then super him, finish the ghost. If the ghost despawns or glitches out, the ghost will be in middle. That has happened to me. The ghost is actually, his ghost has just disappeared, respawned in middle, and I didn't know that, and then he rezzed himself. So you've got to be careful of that. Just make sure that's your priority. Once that Guardian's killed, no matter really how many ads are around, if you're really unsure, then just do Witherhoard at your feet, then get the finisher. You'll have 2 arc shields also that spawn, so it's all about high priority targets with this Nightfall. It's like a mini Glassware in terms of there's not a lot of ads. I mean, they're just Thrall and Cursed. They're not that dangerous to you. It's like on Glassware, the goblins and stuff, they're not that dangerous. Harpies not, but the champs, they are. So the difference is with this one though, is the boss is a huge danger. So not only is it champions, but it's also the boss himself. The reason for that is because he's a melee based boss. Now this is one of the first times I've saw them do it, but he's a melee based boss with an arc ranged attack, which is deadly. So not only is he good up close, very fast, his phase is speed up. So after every phase, he gets faster and faster. When you break his head off, he then speeds up tremendously, and he can creep up on you without you knowing. So what I'm doing here is managing the acolytes. So there's I think it's 6 acolytes per phase of champs. You get 2 barrier champions on phase 2, like at the start, and then you get another 2 barriers halfway. When the boss gets to exactly half HP, there's another 2 barriers. 6 barriers in total. So there's 2 here, 2 at half HP, and then another 2 when he's a third HP, or around about that HP value. And that is the hardest phase, because you need to pick your moments on when to deal with the champion. Now, on this difficulty, as I say, I can get away with it. I don't really need to use my barrier as long as I'm away from the boss. I use my box breathing. You can one cycle these champs, you know, so that's also a huge benefit. Now we're just taking out any of these acolytes. Map rotation always. I'm not going down below too much, you notice, just because I've chosen not to do with the curse at all, just because I don't think you need to on this difficulty. They can catch you out, don't get me wrong, if you sort of forget, but for the most part you don't really need to go down there too much, just for orbs and stuff. And again, as I said earlier at the start of the video, I was wanting to optimise a run to sort of get a half decent clear. We'll use our Tether here, get him half HP. He's less than half, champion spawn in. As soon as that happens, you invis immediately, because you need to see where all the ads are. And you need to focus the acolytes. Acolytes are the biggest danger here. Scan the room to see what's going on. That's where Wormhusk will come in huge, because each time we're getting pretty weak, as soon as we hit our invis, that's health regen. And then, because it is a little bit nasty this with attrition. If the attrition wasn't on, it wouldn't be half as bad. It's just because you're basically doing this without health regen. If you didn't use Wormhusk, you're doing it with no health regen, and it's a bit of a nightmare as it is. Anyways, this strike. So now I just want to see where the boss is. I think I'm good for this barrier, so we'll go for the kill. I missed a crit, so I'm going to be punished for that. Boss is below though. What I've noticed with this boss, he sometimes gives you respite, and if you start to deal damage to a champ, if he's already sitting down below, he will stay down below for an extended amount of time. This is true for GM as well. I'm not sure why that is, but it's sort of a forgivance. He could have killed me there. I was quite lucky. Now we're on this phase here, so the boss obviously is not doing any damage to us. We'll get as much damage in as we could before he runs over. Before he could pop his silver though, I got a finish kill. So we get our ammo as well, and then now it's just the 2 Arc Knights. These Arc Knights can actually one-shot, so they're not threatening, but they can one-shot you with their sword. Even on this difficulty, that's actually happened to me. Watch the fairies as well. I wasn't really clearing out many fairies at all. Try not to do that. Don't avoid the mechanic, because that mechanic can kill you. So whenever you see a fairy, just shoot them. Just get rid of it. So now I'm going to... this is where Disruption Break and the Scout come in huge for the Knights. I actually Witherhoarded the boss as well before he was damageable, just to get some more damage in. This is the final phase, so you're going to get a spawn of Thrall. They'll be obviously cursed, but I'm not dealing with the cursed, so it doesn't really matter to me. We're just staying up top, dealing with the Thrall from here. I use a Tether. This is where, when he gets to a 3rd HP, you get the 2 champs. Now, this is where the boss, he's enraged, and you've got 2 champions, and you've got Thrall. So, you should really do it in cycles. So, I would say that you just, invis, do your invis, and focus the Thrall. Do a Witherhoard shot behind you, then go invis. That's always perfect, because you're killing ads while you're invis. So that's the biggest thing. Take out any of the acolytes. don't focus any of the champs. Don't focus the boss. Only focus the boss to observe to see where the boss is. Don't rush your invis as well. Like you notice sometimes I'll have a bit of respite because I need some recharge on my mobility. I have 100% mobility on this build and it's absolutely necessary. The strength isn't, not on this. If you're using like Graviton Forfeit or Omnioculus, strength is a little bit necessary. But for this setup, I'm only using Wormhusk because attrition's on, right? If attrition wasn't on, I would probably be using Graviton. I would probably use Graviton for this. Graviton seems to be probably the best bet just because of its passive recharge ability rate on smoke bombs as opposed to Omnioculus. It's amazing and I use it for glassware, but you've got to make it work a little bit more with the Omnioculus, but it gives you resistance while you're using it, and that's what's so good about it. So it's not clean cut on what the best invis setup is, not as far as I can see it. I can see a couple of different invis builds, so it's down to playstyles. Some people seem to think it's right or wrong with all this. Sometimes it isn't. It depends on who you are and what you want from it, and what you're doing. Like last week I thought Omnioculus is king, that's it. Then I tried it in this, I didn't like it as much. I don't know, it just depends on what you're doing. It depends on the arena, how many ads there are, a lot goes into it. So it just depends. We're missing our shots here on this champ. This is the champ that I have the most trouble with. Like the entire run. Be careful when we're going down below, obviously, because we haven't killed any of the cursed. Generally, the champ won't stay down too long. But yeah, we miss a crit there. We actually should have got him, so that was my bad. So we reset. Don't play your life for it. You just have to reset. The only thing about one cycle and the champs on this difficulty, the only way it'll work is if the champ is full HP. If you took off 10-20% HP, chances are it's going to do his shield, so you can't do that one cycle. But when you can get it to work, it's really good because you only have so much time to do with these champs. You know, he's turned away from me, he's crit there, so I couldn't do anything. He's now damaged, so it's kind of a wash. So the best thing I can do here is let the champ regen. Just because the boss is right on top. See, you'll have this a lot where the champ, the boss, is stuck to the champ like glue. And that'll happen on GM difficulty as well. What you need to do is bait the boss around the map. And the way to do that is just to be invis and to the point where he doesn't know where you are. This boss is not dumb like Halilea was or something, but he's not ultra smart as well when it comes to invis, because if you've invised round the map for quite some time, the boss will actually sort of mini forget where you are, and that's when your opportunity is to take these champions, these barriers. Now I'm low on heavy here. The champ's been damaged. This is what I'm messing up. So I was impatient. I've done it again as well. I might get him here. No. Boss to my right or something. Yeah, the boss was to the right. So now we only have 2 shots left, so I'm gonna have to make this work a little bit. Bosses, see, this is what I'm on about with this golden opportunity. But if you notice, he actually jumped back down when I went invis there. So it just goes to show invis and plentiful and stuff like that really does help out. Then we're just going to do damage to the boss. There'll be extra wave of Thrall. I'm going to ignore that and just use my Tether and just kite the boss around the map. Finish off with a Tether, and that was the run on it. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.